It being 9 o'clock, call meeting order, pledge of allegiance. Approve the agenda. Any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Just a question with regard to the consent agenda. Is that automatic for anybody that's elected that wasn't a county employee? Is that how that works on the Minnesota 3.088
It's under statute.
under the statute? So any employee that gets hired, that gets elected to an office can have that tenure.
10 years max.
Love that. Okay. I'll move to approve the agenda.
Or a second
I'll second.
discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Carried. Approve the previous minutes of the January 3rd meeting.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Carried. Next will be public comment. Any people to make a public comment, what is on the screen? They wishing to make public comment. Being none, go on to appointments, which we have none this week. Consent agenda. Approve the, confirm the approval of leave of absence of 10 years for Mary Beth beginning 1/3/2023 pursuant to the City Statute Amendment 3.0.
I'll move to approve.
Second,
Second.
discussion. Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say same sign. Carried. Action items, first is gonna be awarding a low bid for SAP 028 599 083 and SAP 028 584 to Minnewa for construction. $557,997.35. Project Wolf in Whippy Hill area of Wilmington Township. Right.
Yeah, good morning, commissioners. So with this bid opening that took place here a couple weeks ago, we had 3 bidders. Low bid was Minnewa Construction, as was read, $557,997.75. The engineer's estimate on this project, we increased our engineer's estimate quite a bit, trying to follow the trends. And our engineer's estimate ended up being $380,195.50. So our increased estimate was about $160,000 below what the low bid came in at. The reason being is that a lot of this deals with the box culvert and the box culvert end section prices have skyrocketed over last year. So this is not an issue that's isolated to Houston County or Southeast Minnesota. It's an issue around the state. The reason why this has been, opened up almost a month ago or 3 weeks ago before it came to the board is been a lot of conversations with MnDOT's bridge office and the finance people at MnDOT on funding this and getting a recommendation from them on do we proceed with awarding this bid knowing that it's so much over the estimate, or do we reject all bids and relook at things and maybe rebid it out. So based on the conversation I had with MnDOT, looking at the trends going on around the state, the recommendation today is to approve this award to Minnewa Construction. We spoke with Minnewa as far as, would they be interested in looking at doing a change order to maybe change it from a precast box culvert to cast in place structure. They're not interested in that. Funding wise, State Aid Finance has agreed to pick up the additional cost of the overrun with some special town bridge or bridge bonding money from the state. So so all this will be paid for using either town bridge account or state money.
You're putting in 2 culverts in each spot?
Nope, I believe, I can just tell you in just a second. Yeah, both spots are gonna be, I believe, one. No, I believe the first spot's gonna be 2 culverts, the second spot's gonna be 1.
The township has got that. They've got a bunch of them that have 2 culverts in. And they're having lots of trouble with them filling up with stuff because the water flow isn't strong enough to clean them out.
Yeah,
You
you,
have 2.
yeah, usually when you have 2, the one becomes the primary and the second one becomes a secondary, and it'll start filling up on the second side. When we can, we always try to make them big enough to make 1 culvert when possible. If it gets over 16 feet wide, then typically it becomes the 2 culverts, so.
They would be happy if you just put 1 culvert in because they've got to clean theirs every 10 years, every 5 to 10 years, they gotta go in there. Because it fills in with 4 or 5 feet of sediment, and it's been happening in both culverts. So they were wondering if they could get by with 1 culvert in these places.
Hydraulically, we have different state requirements as far as what the needs to pass for flow, for overtopping, for backing up water onto adjacent land upstream. So you can't downsize where you start backing water up onto the landowners. So typically the new structure is going to be similar size or slightly bigger than the previous structure. And then a lot of when you have bridges with economics, you might go from 24 foot wide bridge that becomes 2 culverts. If it's 1 smaller pipe to begin with, or a smaller bridge, it might become 1 culvert. But it's all based on requirements. I mean, we really don't have a whole lot of choice what the design goes in.
Well, I imagine it depends on how many acres that runs down through this.
Absolutely.
Who does that study?
So
House or state have?
No, we're usually hiring on a consultant to do the hydraulics. And then if it's culverts, we do the design in-house, but they tell us what size of structures need to be. We do go back to them and make, this is the recommendation, and we may go back and say, will this work? Can we do this instead? And have them rerun it. But we usually do hire that part out.
So. Go ahead.
So as I understood you, the state's picking up the extra cost.
Yep.
So it isn't hurting your budget as far as this project is concerned.
Correct.
But does that have an effect on future monies that we need for other projects? Are we gonna pull?
It really, yes and no. So it's not, we're not using any more town bridge account money. What we're using is pretty much extra money that's sitting up at the state. Now, this issue, like I said, is not a Houston County issue or Southeast Minnesota issue. It is statewide. So statewide, the costs are really high. And most places are still awarding them because they're not stopping the program entirely. There is additional money that's coming in, IIJA and other money that's going toward some projects that might help that way, although more demand for projects, the cost might want to keep up instead of coming back down. Overall, I mean, I could see where it's gonna, yes, definitely hurt the overall funding in the long run at the state level. But it's one of those things where, there's not a whole lot we can do about it this time. I am talking with the state. I'm the chair of the county engineers bridge committee. We talk about what can we do about this. So our last meeting was focused. Half the meeting was on structure. So we're talking about, cast in place versus precast, using other material types instead of concrete, using arch pipes instead of box culverts, using small bridges, using 3-sided. So getting pipes from other states, spending the money on shipping because Minnesota has the big issue with these material availability that other states don't have right now. So we're definitely trying to figure out how to resolve this issue so that it doesn't go on year after year. But it's an issue that we haven't figured out the perfect solution yet.
You're talking 2 different sites. What happens if you eliminate one?
we would have to rebid it just,
Right, but I mean. Reduce the number of bidders.
I don't think it would reduce the number of bidders, but both of these bridges are in worse shape. So we have to rebid it, get the one done. We'd have to come back a year or two and redo the other
Rest of it
ones.
going on more.
They
Yeah,
got,
you-
I mean, these bridges, you can almost see them, they're just about 200 yards apart, so I mean, they're coming down for one. We'll have to do both, cause it's, if they have to load up and leave and come back, that's gonna raise the price pretty
Yeah.
high. They're there, they're gonna be there for one, and I mean, you can almost see the other one, so close.
And does cast in place make it cheaper? Than the precast?
So, historically within Minnesota, no, because you spend the money on the design. And then you use, some contractors just want to do precast, they don't want to do cast in place. Now with the increased price, I think Mauer County is gonna have a contractor doing precast, subcast in place, supplemental agreement after everything was bid out to make that change. They're gonna save, like I said, 50-60,000 on the construction side. They're probably gonna spend 20 to 30,000 on the design side, so they might save a little bit. But that's on a bigger job than what this is even.
Future reference, you could design for cast in place. Then there wouldn't be that cost difference.
And that's what we're trying to figure out. So if we can do it cheaper and cast in place, there's benefits that way. Disadvantage is cast in place takes longer. Precast are in and out in 2-3 weeks. Cast in place, it'll be a month and a half. Maybe 2 months to get out.
Thank you.
So the state is gonna pick up the difference.
Yep.
This one time. I think this actually what this verse is. That's going to affect us in the future. That's unknown.
Yeah, like I said, as far as local money, we're not harmed on the local town bridge account. It's just availability of that special state money.
Other discussion, questions?
Based on the county engineer's recommendation, the fact that it will not cost Houston County any additional dollars, I'll make a motion to approve. SAP 028, 599, 083, and 084.
In a second. I'll second. Further discussion? Being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say aye. Carried. Next is consider approving purchase increase on Paul truck and box purchase. From both of us. $9,000.2 and toll master for $37,021.
Okay, so this I'm gonna start on overall general county budget, because these next 3 items all kind of affect our county budget. If we cost goes down $1, we save $1 at the county. So when I look at these next 3 items combined, or really, I guess I should look at, well, yes, these next 3 items combined. When I look at what we have in our budget, these items will increase our budget by $2,000 over what we budgeted. So the first item is a big increase from what we originally budgeted for 2023. Item number 4 on the agenda is significantly under what we budgeted, and item number 2 is over, number 4 is under, number 3 affects the future budgets. So this first one then on item number 2 with the plow truck. So we purchased a plow truck through Nest Truck, and the attachments, which is the box, the wings, the underbodies, the other stuff from Tollmaster. Both are off the state bid in January, I believe it was January of 2022. February 2022. So availability of trucks, it used to be you'd order a truck in January, you'd get it in the fall, 8-9 months out. Over time, it got pushed back to about 16 months. At that time, you'd order a truck, you'd get the truck would be the future year's model, but they would sell it to you still at the same cost that you approved it, or that the county board approved it on the state bid. Now you're getting trucks closer to 2 years out. Might be plus, might be over, might be under 2 years, but about 2 years. And the suppliers are saying, you have two options. We are not gonna give you a 2024 model year truck for a 2022 price that you ordered through us. We don't have the availability to manufacture a 2022 truck. So either we will cancel the previous order, and you can put in a new order, and pay the price, or we will amend the previous contract and you pay us the 2024 price. Initially, they were going to different counties and saying a month after it was ordered, or a year after it was ordered, we're gonna cancel your order. Order a new truck, get on the bottom of the list, and you might get your new truck in 2 years. Now at least they're saying, you've ordered it, you stay on your list, you don't lose your spot, but we're gonna increase the price. So for this case, so going from the Nest truck, which is the truck chassis, that has increased cost of $9,002.87. Towmaster, which is the attachments, and I understand, on Towmaster's side, if the truck's not there, they can't put anything on it. Their prices unfortunately went up even more, a much higher percentage, so they went up $37,021. So total, we're looking at $46,023.87 increase. And by doing this keeps on the list. We'll get this truck probably in, chassis might show up in late fall, early winter 2023. By the time it has the box and the wings and the underbody and everything on it, we won't actually get this truck to our shop delivered until sometime in the late winter, early spring of 24.
Question. Discussion.
Well, it's still disappointing that. When we need to get this order so we can lock in that price, that's the price. That's what we based our decision on. Nothing, I mean, what good is the state bid then?
Absolutely, and as we spoke earlier in the subcommittee, I did speak with people at the state bidder department and stuff, and I spoke with the top admin, not state aid, and essentially the response I got back was, well, at first the response we got back was, yeah, they can increase the price. But they cannot. But then it was like, but they can cancel. And then you start talking and they're saying, well, you guys just be fortunate that they're giving you the option of paying more to stay in their bid instead of being canceled out.
So we'll be getting a 24 model?
If for whatever model we get, so I think we're going to be getting a 24 model. The truck will show up in the end of 23, but it'll be a 24 model year truck.
It won't be a 23?
Correct. We believe it'll be a 24 model. If it's a 23, we would be paying for a 23.
But the price is the price. I mean, what I'm getting at, that's the price. No matter if it's 23 or 24.
So this approval is for, so actually, if I had all the
For a
attachments in
22.
here. So this is, the approval is for the 24 price. They actually gave us what the price increase is per year. I do have that. I can go back my email. So if it comes to 23, it will be less than the 9,000. I believe that it's maybe 6,500 or something. It was a bigger jump in 2023 than what was in 24. But the anticipation right now is that it's going to be that 24 model year.
So you're talking a $46,000.
Why is Tollmaster so much higher for the equipment? To give a reason?
They're just saying just the availability of steel and the steel costs and everything that goes along with their suppliers on that. That's what it is. And yeah, that's about a 25% increase.
So in other words, if we don't kind of agree to this, they can more or less cancel the truck and then.
They
we
will
got-
cancel. They already told us they will cancel if we don't agree.
Then it's a start over and you're gonna wait an extra 2 years and do the same thing.
Yes, and on the next agenda item, so this is a $4,600 increase. The next one is to approve our next plow truck for a 2025 model, which is even higher than what this truck will be on cost. So
And
we're,
who's to say that's gonna save? They got us over a barrel.
Did you say that between 2, 3, and 4? It's a wash?
between 2 and 4 is a wash. 3, we don't have in the budget yet because we will budget that in a future year.
Well, the backhoe you ordered that a long time ago, correct?
Oh, this is-
Nope, this is,
Tractor back.
this a loader backhoe that'll, this is a different one.
So number 4 is, you're not getting that this year,
So number 4, yes, we do hope to get that this year.
but that wasn't budgeted.
That was budgeted.
But for more than 74,000.
No, they're,
Correct, yes. Number 3 wasn't budgeted because that's gonna ultimately go into the 25 budget. And number 4 was budgeted. We had a net of 125,000 in the budget for that instead of the 74,500.
So 2 and 4 wash each other out.
Yes.
Is 4 a lesser quality backhoe than what we originally planned on? Smaller?
it's a case.
It's the same size. It's a case for John Deere. We're getting more for the trade than what we anticipated. So we got about 30,000 more for the trade than what we anticipated. And then I'm going to that, the case is generally a little bit cheaper than the John Deere. Speaking with our staff, I think this case is gonna do an adequate job for us. No reason to spend for getting the higher cost for a case or a Caterpillar. Or John Deere or Caterpillar.
Here was going to be.
John Deere would have been 108,000 roughly, and the Caterpillar 100,000 to 104,000 depending on the model.
You gotten that Bobcat excavator yet?
No. Trying to think what the latest time frame moves constantly and when we're gonna get it, but
I was just wondering. Just food for thought. When you get that, you're probably gonna use that machine more than you ever use these. Back. Is there a certain situation? you want?
different situations. So we still, I mean, this is one of the machines that we use a lot. So it's not that the other one's gonna replace this completely.
How many of those you have?
We'll have the one excavator, and then I believe we have 2 of the lower, yeah,
They're both John Deere's.
yes.
So we're kind of looking at 3 different things we're gonna do individual. Oh, actually, so. I'd say it's right around $2,000. Different because of lower cost from the backhoe and a higher cost.
Yeah, we're just under $2,000 difference, and actually, if I really looked at the final aspect that we originally only included $5,000 for the trail of an old plow truck. I think we're gonna get more than $7,000 for that when we get that trade, just the cost of equipment going up. So I think ultimately every time we go to sell a truck, which may or may not be this year, depending on when we get our next replacement, that will come out on the positive side, not the negative side.
Put them in bid.
Yes, usually we do a bit for those.
So we get a little bit more for the truck you're gonna sell after we're done. And the difference, 46,000, and we got. Well, that was over 100,000 for your backhoe.
Yep,
Yeah.
our original budget for the tractor backhoe was $125,000.
So when you're only gonna spend 75.
Yes,
That's okay, so then we got a little extra there to cover this 46,000 here.
But you're pushing the Towmaster equipment to 24.
ultimately it gets pushed back in the budget. It's, yeah, we don't pay till we get it.
So this might not be till 24. Some of the money.
Yeah, some of the money we won't actually, might not go out the door until 2024 spring if we don't get it till late winter, early spring.
Years, we used to get all equipment from Fall, or Universal. Or they even get the bidding or just pull that at what's needed for that type of equipment.
Yep, so, yeah, is Falls. The Toll Masters, what we've been going with, they've been providing the stuff to us, I can go back and look at. I think that they're.
Litchfield, Minnesota. Tollmaster. You're thinking of Universal over Centerville?
Centerville is Universal and Falls is on a little Falls. Used to get Falls, so.
Yep.
Yeah, they keep getting or from that kind of one that supplies that type of equipment. Way different, than just having a dump truck. They have all the sand, stuff like that.
Yep. I can do a little bit more checking on that if you want for that third item, if we want to go that route before we do approval on that. For this other one, we already have that contract in place.
So we
And
started,
that we can't jump away from them now to someone else without getting pushed back there.
Any more question on all three of them? Probably one at a time.
Number 3, you're gonna buy another truck, you said, or
Yeah,
order
so,
one?
so the third item, so that is to purchase, yep, a new truck that we would get in 2025. And so that would be $172,108.94 for the Nest truck. And then another $200,344 for the box, the lights, the plows, the underbodies, all that stuff. For a total of $372,452.94. So trucks,
box and equipment is more money than the truck.
yeah. And so this is a state bid number. That's what I'm just trying to remember if Falls is on the state bid or not. And what's been talked to there. I know I've talked to other counties and what they're spending on trucks, and other ones have gone to super trucks and other stuff where they've gone to $450,000 plus trucks. So at this 372, even though that number is a really big number, it's really jumped up a lot over the last several years. It's still lower than what a lot of other counties are starting to spend now on their trucks.
So we gotta order this truck now, ordinary to get it by 25?
If we ordered it now, we should get it in sometime in the winter of, right around January of 2025. And historically, we try to buy one truck per year. We have 10 plow routes. And then, so we have the 10 trucks that are out there. If we order one a year, which means we have a 10-year replacement on our primary plow. Our trucks on the plow routes, and then we have our spare trucks, rock, it gets used for riprap trucks and stuff. We convert the boxes over on those at times. Our chloride truck. So once that 10 years is up, maybe we'll skip a year once or twice. In this case, because of the delays from getting a truck at 8 months to 2 years, that's almost like skipping a year and a half. So right now with the cycle, we're at about 11 and a half year replacement cycle with that delay in ordering. Time you use those trucks, convert them over to rock trucks and the riprap trucks and the chloride trucks, we're at about a 16 to 18 year replacement cycle. So the next couple trucks we'll be getting rid of are 2007 and 8, I believe.
What's considered this number 2 action?
I think I love questions for 2, 3, and 4. Let's go with number 2. Consider approving purchase increase for fall truck and box for a total of $46,038. that discussion on it. If we don't do it, we get on the bottom of the list again.
Well, it sounds like we're pretty much tied into it too already, the way it looks. I mean, if we,
Motion,
I'll make the motion.
second,
Second.
discussion, further discussion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say aye. Carry. Consider approving purchase of a snowplow chassis box and lights 2025 model year. Just discussed.
So that's gonna be the prices, but there's no teeth in it now.
Subject to change.
So some
We
change.
got
so-
it subject to
so-
change.
so-
Got that?
Yeah, so basically this is the price, if it's a 2025 model year truck, so if ultimately if they start running. Ahead of schedule, we get a 2024 model year, it'll actually will be that little bit. Lower price, it could go up if it gets pushed back to 2026, they don't see it going back. 3 years out. The price for. Tollmaster, they do not have a price for their 2024. Number yet on that, so that price in here is the 2023 number. So if the truck doesn't show up until late
It's gonna be
24,
more-
very well could go up a little bit.
This is,
I was just gonna say that, get it, continuing our 10-year rotation, we almost got a plan ahead. And that way we can be prepared for changes.
so this is through the state bid.
Yes.
Is there an RFP or is it just you look at what the state bid offers?
When it comes to plow trucks and stuff, I don't even want to say pretty much everyone, I believe everyone, every county in goes off the state bid with what's out there. I don't think we will get a better price or a different price to try to go outside of the state bid.
We don't know.
We haven't done it, but we can definitely try to submit. Usually what happens is suppliers will say, yeah, this is our non-state bid price, here's your state bid price is better. That's what you have, so, but we haven't gone out with. Being for the price of this, we would have to bid it out, advertise. Send it out bid, it's not just going out for quotes if we go off the state bid. Go away from the state.
Are there suppliers that are not on the state bid that might reply to a request?
All of the manufacturers are on the state bid, so you could get a different dealership, but the manufacturers are all on the state bid.
like the truck that we're gonna sell, like how many miles does the truck have?
I'm really not sure the miles or the hours on the trucks. I know just recently we've had a truck in for repairs of $30-some thousand to keep it running. So it's not just the miles, it's the number of hours and the hard hours of pushing snow that get us, along with our trucks are set up where our rock and salt with the spinner comes out right in front of our rear axle. And it's set up that way because of all the hills. If you start dropping down all the product down behind the wheels, you struggle on the hills. Then you get into more stuck, you can't plow up a road, or you spin out. Because that you're constantly kicking salt up onto that truck, onto the frame. So it's the wear and tear and all that salt getting kicked up is what's.
Catch a rock there. A lot of stuff happens.
They're hard
Yeah,
lines.
stuff like that. Yeah, they're hard miles. So, we do have engine issues at times, but a lot of it overall is the condition of the truck frame itself and keeping everything going.
So with the new shop, wash bay, that has an undercarriage wash.
We don't have an underbody wash in there. We do have in-house contraption that we hook a hose up to, put underneath the truck and spray from the bottom side. But that's not used every time when they wash the trucks. So now the guys are able to wash their trucks a lot more. hopefully that helps the overall condition and longevity of them.
So this 25 one that want to order is going to replace a 20.
That'll replace either a 2008 or 10. I don't think we got one in 2009. We skipped a model year or two in there. Right around 2009, 10 as they were transitioning to the new trucks that require DEF. We don't want to buy a truck right away that was in that first model with DEF and have issues, so we skipped a year or two in there. So I think we maybe don't have a 9, maybe have 2010 trucks, I believe, or something like that. So it's in that era though.
But it would be a map, right? That's
Yes.
the overall map.
One last question. What's the difference between the trucks that we order and the super truck that you're talking?
Like the super truck, so it's a truck where you can take the box off with, it has a hitch on it underneath the box. You can hook up a trailer to it where it turns into essentially like a semi.
I'm just curious what it was.
Yeah,
Do we
so we haven't gone that route. I'm not recommending that route at this point, but
So that trailer. we
and they can
ordered-
also add an extra axle on it.
That trailer we ordered, all that excavator. Is that a bumper or a pintle? I mean, because we don't have a semi, right?
No, no, yeah, and
It must be a pintle to hold behind the dump truck.
Yes, and with the discussion going on, if we don't do it, we're gonna get behind on the rotation and we're gonna keep our equipment up to date.
Well, I would suggest for budgeting that there be at least room there for increases.
What? Further discussion? Retain a motion?
Make a motion to approve the purchase of the snow plow chassis, plow truck, box and lights. Number 3.
I'll second. Discussion, further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, say aye. Carried. Number 4 is the purchase of a case 590 FM backhoe motor from Titan Machinery for $74,500. That discussion that came in less than my original estimate. Any further information with that?
One question. We talked about cats, we talked about John Deere, we talked about Case. There a longevity issue as far as the Case versus the John Deere versus the cat?
For this piece of equipment, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference. The cat might have a little bit more longevity. Might have a little bit higher resale value, but the difference it's gonna be fairly minimal. So some of the equipment, some stuff in the past, we've had really good luck with cases on certain equipment, and other ones we've wanted to go with John Deere. We've typically stayed away from Cat because of their initial purchase price. But so in this case, historically, the John Deeres have worked out well for us. But we think that with this new case model, that this is the better way to go. Save the money. We think it's going to hold up.
John Deere were trading his 2014, so you don't keep them.
So, yeah.
Further questions, discussion? Motion?
It's the other. You got 2 of them, so is the other one up for replacement too?
I think the other one's newer. I don't know. Should have brought my full list.
So all we really need then in the next couple, 2 or 3 years would be one more truck.
We'll have the truck. We'll probably want to continue replacing the skid loaders.
Well, those are on
Um,
rotation
they're under rotation, yeah,
of every year, isn't it? Or every-
Yep.
it's only
Yeah,
like
we got on,
$5,000
yep,
bucks.
yep,
That's
so
a
let,
no-brainer.
yep. Trying to think if. I think our motor graders are in better shape. We usually have one other piece of big equipment that needs to get in there in a year that.
And-
I think we're pretty good on end loaders for a little while too.
Do we have an inventory of all your equipment?
Oh, yeah.
Available?
Yeah, and I can get that to you if you want it.
Let's just kind of, we're guessing on the years and stuff and. Let's see an inventory. And maybe even suggest on each step, oh, this will be replaced in 2026.
Yep.
I think it'd be helpful for budgeting purposes. So.
Do a 5-year plan.
Yeah, I do have a 5-year plan on that. I just don't know that we updated it, or I don't remember updating it this budget cycle. I'm like what we usually do, and that's why I'm not quite as familiar as usual, because usually when we're doing that is have budget time. In budget time this year, I had some staff that were out with other issues, so we didn't really focus on the 5-year equipment, so.
I guess that would help us. We're asking questions about equipment.
Yep.
Be prepared for it.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept that bid for the backhoe at 74,500. It's under budget and it's in the budget, correct?
For a second. Second. Further discussion, any comment there?
Warranty, is that, you're pretty much the same,
It's just the standard manufacturer warranty on this.
no different than John Deere.
Okay, any other discussion, questions? All in favor of the purchase of the case 590 SM, say aye. Opposed, say aye. Carried.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Next is consider approving Houston County Hauler license renewal.
We've got 7 haulers that we've got their renewals and basically we're waiting on one. They tend to just. They might submit it in April is what they did last year, Gen X. Other than that, everybody else is submitted and we just got the money for waste management today. So I think we're good on all.
Say Gen X or Generation?
Oh, sorry. No, I'll read it. I think I may have said it too fast. Generation X construction.
Everybody else is on the list here.
Yes.
They wait until I know if they got any work or not.
Say they're a contractor, so it's not like they're hauling refuge all year round. They're
Exactly.
they're just seasonal, so.
Right. Yep.
That's probably why I have
Yeah,
submitted all
no.
these other guys. Are full timers, so.
Yep.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve all those contracts. It's gonna happen.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion. Being none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, say aye. Carried. Next is consider approving purchase of a service contract with Woodland community-based support employment.
Here's something.
Center-based for employment applications, agreement represents update of rate structure. Yeah,
Good morning, Commissioners. I've got a few contracts in front of you this morning. The first one here is a long-term contract that we've had with ABC Woodland. They provide, as Dewey mentioned, supported employment and community-based supported employment for individuals with disabilities. We've worked with them over the last couple of years to make revisions to the rate structure. Spent a lot of time looking at their cost to provide services to Houston County residents and simplified the rate structure. And so that is reflected in this in this contract. It's hard to compare the different rate structures because they're very different. What I will say is the not to exceed figure in this contract is a little bit more than it was in 2022. It's an increase of $5,574 for a not to exceed figure of $55,179. In the past, we haven't gotten real close to the not to exceed number. And that was kind of frustrating in that I think to both parties where they were struggling from a finance perspective on this contract. And we would look at it and say, well, you're not even using the available resources that we've allocated. So our hope is that we're going to get a little closer to that by improving the rate structure. That being said, it's based on the people that they're serving. And if they're not there on a particular day, they're not charging for them. So anyway, I'd recommend that you consider this contract for approval. They're a longtime vendor for this population.
During our community service meeting this morning, you said we budgeted it for 61,000, so this comes in less than the budgeted amount.
Correct. When we budgeted, I was in the process of negotiating with them these changes to rate structure. Their census of people that they are serving for us went down. And so when it came time to finalize the contract, we used their current census to determine the not to exceed figure.
So John, we've talked about this before, but you went back to him and tried to get some justification for some of the increases, correct?
Exactly. You know, I mean, in a broad scale, you can understand when organizations say, gee, we'd like more rather than less. But I said to them over the last couple of years, we need to see cost justification for the people that we're serving. And ABC Woodland has had some change in leadership. And so this past year, it was much more effective in being able to get that information. And I feel confident in what they've presented, that it's a good reflection of what their current cost is and a fair change to this contract. One other thing I'd note is, you know, in addition to being able to have a better idea of what their actual costs are, they're facing a lot of the same labor pressure cost types of things that the county is and others. So some of the increase here is related to increases that they need to make or have needed to make in payroll to be able to retain staff. But we can see that a lot better in the rate structure and how they arrive at those costs.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with ABC Woodland.
Motion made, is there a second? Further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say aye. Carried. Next, number 7 is consider approving the 2022 contract for transportation service. Done.
SEMCAC is another long-term contract. This is something we do annually. SEMCAP provides medical transportation for us. There is some cost to the county as it relates to some of the coordination of the program and also unloaded miles. So a number of years back, the state said that they would only pay for these transportation or these miles, so to speak, when there was a person in the vehicle, and not the unloaded miles when people were driving to go and pick somebody up. It's been a fairly contentious issue in rural Minnesota where there's a fair amount of unloaded miles as people are going to pick somebody up to take them somewhere. But this is something that has been an issue that we've identified, and it's a contract that we've had for many years. This year shows no change. It's exactly the same contract as we had last year.
Make a motion to approve it. SEMCAC contract.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Carried. Consider approving guardianships.
Adjustment in the rate last year. If you recall, we did a bunch of amendments in the second year of these contracts. These are 2-year agreements, and when we're able to do this work with individuals in the community, it's much more economical than when we work with organizations to provide the service. However, some cases really require that we work with those organizations as the complexity of some of the court-related things related to guardianship is increasing. But we try to keep as many of our folks through these individuals who are willing to do this work for us. And so for these individuals, the contract is the same as in the past, although it reflects the adjustment we made mid-contract last year for the fee.
Make the motion, we approve the guardianship contracts for the listed individuals above.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Carried.
Commissioners, excuse me, just 2 other quick things. I'll probably be bringing more guardianships. We tend not to get them all at the same time, so you'll probably be seeing a group of them again. And Commissioner Myrie, I'll pop up there at the end of your meeting so that we can get those signatures.
I have one question for John.
Right.
So John, all these contracts for guardianship. So you've got 6 of them so there's all these pages of guardianship and stuff on there. Can you send just one contract and a list of the names of, instead of each person's page after page contracts? You know,
Yeah, I suppose I could do that. That would reduce your the stuff that's in your packet.
everything's the same, just a different name.
Just a different name, exactly. So,
Thanks.
okay, yeah, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Any other things for John? Moving on to number 9, consider reappointing Mark Burks, that's to the Houston County Economic Development Board, her term expired, actually December of 2022, it's a 3-year term. Allison?
Yeah, so Dana has graciously agreed to be on our EDA board again. The vote was unanimous. We're happy to have her. She's already been serving on the EDA board, so we're making the recommendation that you reappoint her.
Question.
Yes.
Is there a limit to how many times you can be reappointed? Is there like a 12-year limit or?
Yeah, the last time I looked in the bylaws, I don't think so.
Thank you.
3-year term.
Yep, and we currently do have one opening. So if you know of anyone who's interested,
So the opening would be from what area?
well, Tony Schultz was on the board and he was from the Houston area and he is no longer able to serve on the board. However, at this point, we would take someone from any area. Plus, we have Eric, who is from the same area, so. At this point, we will take who we can get.
Okay.
I make a motion, we reappoint Dana Burtness to another term on the EDA.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Carried. Next is discussion with Sheriff Ledford, consider creating a jail operation review committee. Meetings.
Morning.
Morning.
Since our population isn't very large, right now we have 17 in the jail total and only 5 are Houston County inmates, and it's kind of been the average. So I think best we have a jail study this year since the Winona contract's ending at the end of the year. So I'd like to see what possibilities we have out there.
How many people do you think you want to have on that committee?
I think about 5 would be appropriate.
I mean, of course, we want to have two from the board, but
2 from the board, I was thinking myself, maybe possibly like the jail administrator and the dispatch supervisor.
Well, I think it's something that we need to do, and I think we need, the sooner we get going on this, the better. Given that our loan contract's gonna expire here this year. So. So we need an action item to create the committee and then appoint somebody to be on that committee, is that basically what we're doing here?
Well, I'll make a motion then to create a jail operation review. Is that what you need?
Yep, I'll second that.
And, any further discussion, then after which we'll appoint or decide. Okay. Motion is made to create the new committee. No further discussion, all in favor say aye. Opposed, say nay.
Brian, you said the sheriff, the board, the jail administrator, and who was your recommendation?
Mark Olson, the PSAP coordinator.
I would like to attend meetings if I'm not necessarily on the committee.
Well, I guess, I'd like to be part of that unless somebody else has a strong desire. Things will change between now and October.
Well, you're the chairman, so that's fine.
Anybody else like to work on it? I think it's just come up with some ideas that would be involved with cost operation change.
Correct.
And other issues like that too.
I'd be interested in that too.
That okay with the rest of the board?
Perfect.
Consensus, we need both.
Well, you can probably consider that under item number 11. I think that's fine.
Cool.
And then we'll add it to the list and we'll list who's in it.
Okay. So, we're gonna start a committee and we'll discuss the membership.
Thank
Okay.
you.
You guys can always change the number of people on the committee as you're ongoing, if you want to add somebody to the committee or whatever.
That's fine, if Farrell wants to join in, she'll have the numbers to help us.
That's the important part.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Brett.
And, oh, Brian, while I got you here, did I see something about your deputy, is that gonna come across here, like,
No, not today.
not today, okay, very good. Next is considering looking at the 2023 committee assignments. Go through, we got a updated list here that is. Sometimes when we're going through these, we don't realize how many we're getting involved with. But we go through community services, we have, Bob and I, if anybody wish to get on to that,
Well, okay, so we're gonna go through wall again. Is that-
quickly through them, this is your chance to change them, I think. Land use, is, Derek and Bob Schultz, anybody else really figured it there? Finance Standing Committee, it's myself and Ray. Looking at that last year, we have the chairman and the vice chairman on that, is that, you want to change that, or you want to stay on there, Greg?
I don't, I mean, if you wanna have the vice chair on there, I guess finance is all right with me. I mean, that's.
But just a thought.
I mean,
Just another travel going on here. Well, it's before this fourth. Yeah.
It's the fourth
before-
Tuesday.
Does it conflict with anything
No,
that
any
you
other
already on?
meetings. Well, we'll just leave it as is unless it's strong. Personnel, negotiating committee. Bob and Eric last week. There was some discussion, you know. The reason I'm going through the list here is I see opportunities for people to get into new committees that they're not in before. And fresh ideas and so on, so. This is one that has come up, that's questioned, so.
Well, I was on that personnel committee and I really didn't care to get off, but I guess, I mean, with Bob being on there, I think it's conflict of interest with his son working at the county, so I don't know if that's. What you guys think about that, but I mean, we're talking about negotiations and stuff like that. Kind of a conflict of interest.
Negotiations are over for until the 3-year contract's up, so there will be no negotiations this year as far as the contract. I
No,
mean,
that-
MOAs or something like that, but there won't be any contract new negotiation.
You're right on that point. It's just that, you know, it has been brought up to my attention afterwards to question why Bob is on there because it's conflict of interest. So it is out there. People are paying attention to that. So
I got on it because I asked to be put on.
I don't. And it's been brought up of the conflict. So that's out there. I can say.
No matter what happens, the county road on some idea or some spot where we may be in a situation similar to that. I look at newness through different committees and I like to keep it as we've listed here and be the choice of this board to have a vote on it. I would motion that we have the personnel committee.
Well, we swore an oath to keep, I mean, to do things right. I mean,
Gonna go to a vote if, which,
I guess
It has to go to a vote because we motioned and carried last time
mhm.
to have this as the committee, so. we Gotta make a motion. Don't think I would. I don't see it as a conflict, but
I made a motion, 0 second by Kenneth.
I'll second.
what is the motion?
Motion is that we, personnel committee as, Eric Johnson and the office.
No, I won't a second. I won't go.
You don't want to change it.
Yeah, I'm the one that's in there. I didn't know. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Change the plan.
With this discussion, pointing out my thoughts of doing this to different spots here. I keep away from multiple meetings at the same time too, like, I like to get on land, but I also like services, so I choose to, yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion. We take a vote.
Wait,
We got a motion
there's a
on the floor.
motion.
We will have council and then that's the personal. Is there a second? Final call, is there a second? I select a second. Okay, further discussion. So, Greg, you'd like to be on there?
Yep.
Bob would like to be on there. Eric, you want to stay on there or are you going to? Yes, that's where we're at. We have people interested in the same position, only 2 can be on it.
See us how. See us how.
Being on the motion.
Go ahead. Eric.
So that your motion failed, so I'll make a motion to keep the personnel committee. Same as it was last year, with myself. Greg. And Greg's was only on for 8 years. He's just getting his feet wet. I'll make that a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made, seconded, that, for Eric and Greg to be on that committee. Be a, roll call vote, please.
Okay. District 1,
No.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
No,
District 4,
yes,
District 5.
Yes.
I just want to point out. It's only because of conflict concerns that I'm working.
Moving on to ADA Compliance Committee, we currently have, myself and Eric. We can stay on that. Airport Committee is Burns and Myrie. Change that.
I'm okay with it, any Greg? Further,
Okay, canvassing, that gets to be done at the election time. We won't have this, I believe. Locality review team. Fortunately, I've not had to deal with that. Unless somebody wants it. CJC Safety Committee. Bob, you're on that. Stay,
so that never, Brian, that never meets,
never meets the same as my mortality.
So- so it's really
We
not,
don't. The courthouse closure for weather and emergency, kind of designated for the chairman to be on that, so I'm working with the sheriff's department. Moving on to the CJCC committee.
they meet on at noon time. When they have their meetings. We're a representative, we don't have a whole lot to say about the County Justice Center, so. Stay on that.
Very good. Parks committee. We have myself and Greg. Bob, you want to go back on him or?
Depends on Greg, if he's happy going on to Parks. Doesn't matter to me, I mean, it's a fairly simple committee.
Can I back up here?
Which one?
Okay, you got off the personnel.
Yep.
You're staying on finance.
I think Bob should go on.
You want to switch?
Yeah.
Would you do that, Bob?
Yes,
Okay.
Well, you're the finance here. So finance will be myself and Bob.
Yep.
Agreeable?
yeah,
All right, I'll back down here to. Parks, we just did. Planning commission, it's Greg with Eric as an alternate.
Good.
Okay, safety committee is Burns,
similar to the CJC Safety Committee, there's.
very few.
It's not very often.
Okay, moving on to the district 9 committees, going through the list, these are all. Bob is the environmental and natural resources. No, excuse me, Eric is, then Bob is transportation. Bob Schultz is the human services. Greg is going to be the federal government. And public safety. That's when we basically about the same ball when we had the meeting. The AMC delegate, that's all of us. Bear Creek watershed. Good.
I guess we don't have too many meetings. I'll keep that one.
Off
One.
country, Minnesota, off country Minnesota, multi-country county housing redevelopment. That's Bob, we've been on that for.
It's a quarterly meeting, it's. Makes no difference.
Board of Health, that's the joint powers deal with Fillmore County, and that's all of us. We go to that meeting, what is it, it's quarterly or every other month, it seems like. Quarterly. CHS Advisory Committee. It's also known as the nursing task.
That doesn't mean.
I've never been on it, I don't think. Doesn't mean much. Community Health Services Delegate,
Shit,
you took that,
Bob Schul.
Okay. Economic Development, with Eric and I, if somebody really have a desire for it, otherwise. Okay, make sure you write one. Extension Committee, Johnson and Myrie. And moving on to Family Services, the Burns.
Yep.
Power out, Iowa Valley Mental Health Therapy, Burns is the main man, I'm an alternate to it. The Solid Waste Policy Committee. Being that I'm very close by, that on, they meet, I think every other month or something, unless somebody wants it. Solid Waste. MCT voting delegate. What's that about, first?
As a voting delegate, when the AMC has their meetings and MCIT does their presentation, we get a vote. All the counties get a vote on the changes of policy and whatnot. I'm not, you're not on the board, MCIT board, and Marshall Ward, and those people, there's another 7 of them. They're making policy, then when they've made policy, it comes before the rest of the state, and so I'm the voting. So if somebody wants to be the vote for MCIT voting delegate, that's fine by me.
You're gonna do a good job.
Your name's on there, so the voting delegate.
They're looking for some people to the board, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anybody can apply.
one watershed, one plan, that is, Eric and Greg. Eric is being Greg's alternate.
Yep.
Southeastern Minnesota Emergency Medical. That they need
Something like that.
that was one that Teresa had last year. Just getting information on that. You might want to get into the medical thing.
Got Bob as alternate. Bob Schultz.
So you interested or
I don't even see the AM.
that's what?
Maybe I looked at the wrong line. I'm gonna look again.
Yeah, I don't think there is an alternate on that particular one.
You'd like to take that one? Okay.
You know when it is, or
I'll be the alternate to it. We'll just have to let them know, because I already started getting emails. So
Yeah, if you can just reply to them and let them know to start sending them to him, that would be helpful.
Southeastern Minnesota Emergency Communication Board, this is one that meets in Rochester. Every other month. Just to do with communication, dispatch and. For the last couple of years, first year we didn't do anything because of COVID, and this last year we. You know, basically going up the legislature now. Why he likes it, they have it. Not forever. Okay, moving on, Selco Board of Directors. We have Burns as the main and Eric as alternate.
So if somebody wants that, I mean, Carol, has the contract come back yet? For
I
the,
haven't seen it.
okay. But the contract has been approved, so that's a 3-year contract, so
Still got a board meeting.
to go to meetings in Rochester, so if somebody wants to represent the county on the Zelco library. Sure willing to give it up.
Okay. Not ready to jump to that.
Nobody jumping on now.
Comes forward. Moving on to SEMCAT. Burns is. The main contact with Eric is an alternate. Changes, okay, Southeast, Southern Minnesota Tourism Association. We don't meet too often at all. Southern Rivers Alliance, it's all of us. Too much from that. The Smart Trails.
Bob and I think,
Nope,
yeah, I'm the alternate. Is that it?
Bob is for the.
Yes,
No, no.
that's correct.
Smart Trails?
Smart
It's
Trails.
Dewey,
I can-
Dewey and you. Dewey and Eric.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is Dewey. Yes.
It only makes
Sorry.
sense since you guys.
I'm the alternate. Dewey's the main.
Since the bike trail issue
Yep,
right now.
yep, that's fine.
Addressing the whole
That's fine.
precinct.
Okay, Township Officer Association, Myrie. Start from there, moving on to Water Planning Committee. Eric got that. that the one that you report to some Fillmore County and stuff? like that?
No, that's the one watershed one. This is a different.
They use you, mail us.
Was it? Workforce development, all me on that. And, it's something new to me, but somebody else, part-time work. Then Winlack, it's, rationale behind that, it's, affects the Crescent City, the Crescent Township, so Reese and I have been on for years, for the last couple of years since I got on, I'll alternate when it affects that area. So this will be updated. We had a couple of changes. And I don't know if we have it all with it.
Yeah, so we'll update it. We'll add the jail operations review committee. Holly, Don, and I will compare notes, and then we'll finally get you the official list.
Okay, we didn't officially list the who's gonna be on that committee. Guess I would
It's you and Bob Short.
So do you wanna,
Commissioners, Allison, I think it might be a good idea if you just go overview of the changes you made today, because I had a really hard time hearing, and if, you know, maybe that would help, and then that would clarify some things if there's been some discrepancies in our end or something.
okay, and then the personnel committee you already voted on, but you should probably also vote on the updates or whatever. So what I have is, we're updating the jail operations review committee. We're gonna add that to the list. It's gonna be Dewey and Bob Schultz, plus the others that the sheriff listed, including Carol on there. Finance committee is gonna be Bob Burns and Dewey. Personnel negotiating committee, we already voted on that. It's gonna be Myrie and Johnson. And the Southeast Minnesota Emergency Medical JPC is gonna change, and it will now be Commissioner Schultz.
That's it.
So when you run down the list.
The-
That gives Dewey 18. Eric 11, me 17. Bob Schultz 8. Greg 12. Grant. Granted, a lot of these are.
So, so in the, so,
They don't even meet, so,
Yeah.
and we've been through that last time, so like, Dewey's got 18, but he's actually probably only going to 13 or something.
I got a lot of alternatives.
so Allison, on the Southeast Minnesota Regional Emergency, is Bob the main one, or is he the alternate?
He's the main one. We don't have an alternate for that one.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So if you want to make the changes, I'll double check them before you send them out. The only other thing I noticed is that SEMCAC is no longer an acronym, so it shouldn't all be capitalized.
Oh,
What?
I heard that directly from SEMCAC.
Okay.
It is. They changed their name, and their name is SEMCAC, and is no longer an acronym. Some time ago, I was corrected because I had it wrong on a sheet of things. So now we know.
So make a motion to,
I'll make a motion to accept the new committee list excluding the personnel, which we've already voted on.
so second. So second,
I'll second that.
discussion. Being none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Carried. Okay. That's done. Anything else under action is going to Adam? Moving on to board updates, we start with Greg.
I guess I haven't had no meetings since last week. Got some coming up, I think, in going. I'm not sure. I heard there was gonna be maybe some. Outside of that, I got really not much.
Joel?
Well, we had our land use meeting this morning, but pretty much everything that was talked about was covered. Representatives at this meeting.
First.
Yesterday was a busy day. Had a Bluff Country phone meeting in the morning, not much to report on that. Hiawatha Valley Planning and board meeting in the afternoon, and then SEMCAC in the evening. Not a great deal to report on any of them, it's just a meeting that you go to and sit and listen, I guess. So. Community services was this morning, and Dewey, I'll let you report on that. Yeah, we don't have to talk.
So Doug Rout's still the head guy?
Doug Grout's still a head guy.
They're getting help and everything going good?
Yeah, it's going pretty well. They got the same kind of issues that we've got. I mean, they've ordered 3 new buses that they're gonna be into the second year before they get them, and hopefully the prices don't change. With the new contract for transportation, now I'm gonna start talking about. With the new contract for the transportation part of, the Rolling Hills part of SEMCAC, I did report to them that Pineview closing the nursing home in Caledonia might change the Rolling Hills transportation routes because the 22 residents that got relocated and the county board, the county health and human services did a hell of a job as far as finding places for those 22 people. It was a struggle, but they got all of them taken care of. And so kudos to Health and Human Services in that regard. But it's going to change the transportation arrangement with SEMCAC or SEMCAC. And then SEMCAC's buying a building up in Rochester for a new office facility and workspace there. In Casson, they're buying some property and going to expand the garage, and they're going to add 6 more buses to the fleet over time so that they've got more transportation services that they're offering. Well, that's enough.
Well, on that Pineview closing, I got John's letter here. And maybe this is a question John could answer, but MDH and DHS. It sounds like they weren't following the guidelines. Are they being held accountable, this corporation, or what's happening there? I mean, they basically said it's up to you, up to us, the locals, to take care of this. Are they doing anything?
I don't know that it's accurate to say that the state said you guys just take care of it. The state does have a very prescribed process for closure of long-term care facilities. This organization chose not to follow that. And that caused a crisis with a number of vulnerable adults who were housed there. The state did work with us. We work with primarily MDH and the Ombudsman's office, and we'll also be working with them to kind of do a review of this. It was a very unusual set of circumstances, even for the state. Generally, an organization doesn't just say, sorry, we're not going to follow your rules. This organization is only licensed to do long-term care here in Houston County at the Pineview site, and they've lost that license. And they manage sites in different places across the country. As they're currently constituted, I think they'd have a very difficult time getting a new license for any kind of operation in the state of Minnesota.
You got 10 of them in Spring Grove, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite a good job.
Yeah, really kudos to them as well. I mean, a lot of our local partners really stepped up because we had very short amount of time to find placements for all of these individuals with very unique and at times challenging needs. Again, they're some of the most vulnerable individuals in our community. The ownership group, or the ownership for this facility, is an individual out in New Jersey who contracts with management companies. The one we were dealing with is out of Florida, and they had a contracted administrator from Tennessee. It's a big shell game, and it really very disheartening. But the good news is, and what I wanted to share with the board, is all of those individuals have been safely placed, with the exception of one individual who's currently in the hospital that we're still working on. And I'm hopeful that we'll find appropriate placement for that individual soon.
Spring Grove, they were able to get help, huh?
They were a huge help. You know, I can't commend them enough, but others too, you know. The staffing challenges that you hear in a lot of places, the same in the long-term care industry, and to be able to tool up and accept that number of people in such a short order is really statement of their willingness to be a solution for these individuals.
I give kudos to your staff, John, for helping that
Yeah.
navigate through that.
Yeah, thank you for that. I agree that the very unusual circumstances, but I think I interrupted you. I apologize.
You did good.
Thank you for those comments. I appreciate it. I will relay them to our staff as well.
Thank you. Nope.
I don't have anything I had planned. The other Bob this morning too, and the other Bob. Think of a nickname.
Well, we can't, let's go be you and Bob.
Bobby. But anyway, Luke, I asked Luke, I said about that letter. Did you talk to him, Bob, about that letter for
Yep.
to back him up on his deal with the Department of Rev? Yeah. He said he's working on that still.
He hasn't responded yet.
Yeah. He's working on drafting that, so. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Well, couple of things I know this morning at Community Services, they're reposting a nurse case manager position. Didn't get too many applicants and they repost that. I was at the Augusta City Council last night and there's quite a deal, a couple of things, but the Weezer Park they collected over $400,000 donations from the shelter. That's the highlight. So and then they went through the same thing we did, committee assignments and so on and so forth. I don't know, have you heard that through this meeting? And the Chamber of Commerce director is resigning here at the end of the month. It's kind of, she's doing such a bang about the job up there. Yes, a lot.
Yeah, and we share the co-working space with them, so I'm actually gonna be over in the Crescent tomorrow for part of the day and we'll look at that, how we can work that out.
And that's about it, so I have.
EDA meeting.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Allison. We did have an EDA meeting last week out. And we discussed putting Dana back in.
Interest rate.
Interest rate, we adjusted the interest rate to 3.5.
Mhm.
In the past, it was always, we went 1% under prime on the interest rate. And we set it at the beginning of the year for the remainder of that year. Given the fact that the prime interest rate right now is at 7.5%, that would have made us only to 6.5. Which in reality is little. It's little construed because banks can actually match that 6. They can do 6.5 for some projects now. So there was no appeal for people to come to the EDA to get a loan because of the low interest, because it's really not that low. So if we got $500-some thousand in balance loan out, and we want to encourage new startups or expansion projects in the county, we felt that it was important to keep the interest rate at a lower rate. And so that's why we came up, put it in that 3.5.
And a gap funding.
And it's gap financing. It doesn't finance the whole projects.
I have two questions. First, in March is the AMC transfer or AMC Day at the Capitol. To talk to the legislators, we're all on one of the AMC committees. I don't know who's planning on going, but I know Fillmore County is planning on going. I'm just throwing us a heads up that maybe we should consider that. And speaking of Fillmore County, they would like to get together with Houston County and come up with some of our needs. In Houston County, Fillmore County are fairly similar. If we could collaborate on talking to the legislators about what we think it'd be nice if they helped us with as far as transportation or highway. You know, the different things that we would like to see the state add finance to. And put up a consolidated front as far as that's concerned before the legislators. So we should meet with them sometime.
Could we just coordinate through mail or email or have a meeting? Is that what you're?
Talked about a meeting, but maybe we could talk about it.
Okay, if it's a meeting, we just gotta advertise it.
Well, not if it's just a couple of them.
Oh,
Maybe it's
I thought you
fine,
meant the
maybe,
whole board.
well, they didn't say one way or the other, but if we don't do it with the whole board, we don't have to have that. Just said one of the committees over to sit down and discuss it.
Well, on mine, and I'm sure we meet with them before that health thing. Could we add that to that agenda by chance? Still, if we post it, we can discuss mutual.
As long as we've got a meeting before the March visit the Capitol.
John, do we have a joint board of health in February?
I'm sorry, say again.
Do we have a joint board of health in February?
No, we've got one this month.
Oh.
That should be coming out
End of this
shortly.
Okay.
24th, ain't it?
It is the 24th, correct?
That's our last meeting of the month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Say we got 2 weeks from today.
Correct.
We post it, that we're having discussion on mutual concerns.
It's just on the top of it.
I don't know, I'm thinking on that.
Oh, shit.
We can look into that real quick here.
Sam,
Well,
Well, for sure, our consolidation as far as health and services.
that part's fine. That's just.
The rest of it is a question.
Discussion on other legislative issues. That's what we need to join for.
Well, we can,
posting part, is that?
We'll talk to.
Yeah, if you're all five gonna meet for anything, we'll have to post where and when, and it will have to be open to the public.
Yep.
We do that for the joint board of health. So if we add this to the joint board of health as an additional item to discuss. Not
Are
having
you
anything,
all on the joint board of health?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll check with Sam and have the answer.
I advise the chairman to check with Sam and get it.
And then definitely let me know if I need to post it.
do you post the joint board of health meeting?
I don't, but I'm assuming that someone does.
Well, that. John,
The Joint Board of Health is posted by the CHS administrator, which right now is Jessica Erickson in Fillmore County. That switches every 5 years, so it'll be coming back to us here, I think in a year and a half. Then we would be posting that notice.
The posting qualified for our board.
I will. I'll do the same on that and get a email off everybody.
well, John, as long as we're on that subject. Are we, the last two meetings we've had with Joint Board of Health, we had discussions on. The edible parts. of the
THC
situation.
edibles.
Yep. You guys got something, some policy ready to go here or?
I've been working with Sam and I think that he has some language that he intends to bring to that meeting. I think you may also want to take a look at the current legislative environment. It looks like a full-blown effort to legalized recreational marijuana has got some legs, at least initially. Whether that passes or not, it's at least something you may want to consider as it relates to ordinances that you're considering. So, but I haven't spoken with Sam recently about that, but I'll be connecting with him. I know I've sent him some stuff and we've communicated on that, but it's my understanding that he was going to draft some potential ordinance language for you guys to consider. And I think that was for both counties. I think he's working with the county attorney in Fillmore as well.
That was on the gummy bears and all that stuff. Is that what he's doing ordinances on?
Yeah, the THC edibles and also impacts the beverage industry. So
Well, there was a recent news article on the TV, local news station yesterday on 1,000% increase on edible incidents with little children in the home.
not at all.
1,000% increase, and then that's frightening.
Yeah, I think, you know, I couldn't agree more. The thing that's unfortunate is they legalize those edibles, they set some standards, but there's no enforcement of those standards that they set in the statute. There's also no licensing, no testing, nothing. So I think the thing that is frustrating for counties, Houston and Fillmore included, is it kind of falls to us then to kind of sort that out. What do we do with complaints when somebody says, I was able to purchase this and it's far in excess of what the statute says? Part of the argument for the legalization is to establish a state office that would regulate recreational marijuana and all of that. So I'm just saying that's going to be part of the argument at the legislative session for that legalization. At the very least, my hope is that the legislature addresses the I don't know, the enforcement and licensing of individuals or organizations that are selling THC edibles. And I think that's some of what Sam is looking at, is from an ordinance perspective. Are there licensing things that Houston County or Fillmore County can do? Are there zoning things that they can do? Maybe stopping short of banning something that is a right provided through the state legislature, but gain some level of control locally. So my conversations with him have kind of been more around that. But like I said, it was prior to the holidays since I've touched base with him on that.
Okay.
But we'll have more information for you at that joint board of health.
So there's a regulation. I've read all the regulations as far as what you can have and how much, you know, how much each gummy can be and how many gummies in a bag and all that. When you talk about enforcement, is there any what is enforcement? I mean, is there any?
Well, from what I understand, it's a misdemeanor for illegal packaging of edibles, isn't it?
I don't know that for certain. I'd have to defer to Sam for the actual charge that it would be. And he would need to bring that charge forward and prosecute it as the county attorney. I think the challenge isn't that they haven't set a standard. It's that they have no means of testing those things. They have no licensing. There's no reporting or anything. And so we get many reports of, well, the statute says you can't have more than 5 milligrams in a gummy or an item, and packages that say that they're 50 per item. Well, just because it says it doesn't necessarily mean that it is. It's kind of a real quagmire, and that's what we're hoping to bring some language as it relates to local ordinances that could hopefully gain a little bit of control locally ahead of whatever the state may or may not do.
But they don't even have to get a license and nobody monitors their packaging or nothing.
Nope.
Correct.
Nope. The Board of Pharmacy is responsible and they've been inundated with complaints from across the state. Just
Aren't
prior
they
to the
suing?
holiday. I'm sorry, say again.
Board of Pharmacy is suing.
They are correct. I was just going to say,
Oh,
just
wow.
prior to the holidays, they brought suit against a distributor, I think somewhere in the Fargo Moorhead area or somewhere in the Red River Valley there. And so that's making its way through court. But the Board of Pharmacy is a very small state agency. And so to add this to their plate, they don't have people to go out and do the enforcement. There's, you know, you or I could sell these and it would not be licensed or anything. And so I think the consensus among virtually anybody I talked to is that it really was an incomplete effort and established a whole lot more challenges locally than anybody anticipated. I know it caught a lot of people flat-footed too. I had not read anything in the lead up to the end of the last legislative session that this was even a viable thing. So
I was slipped in the middle of the night, so.
yeah. So that's our intent is that, you know, I'll work with Sam. Sam had said at our last joint Board of Health meeting that he was going to draft some language around ordinances. And I don't want to speak totally for him, but my understanding was his focus in that would be around licensing requirements and zoning as to where and when you could conduct this business.
So if we put in all kinds of ordinances, who's gonna enforce them?
Well, that is part of the question.
Gentleman in the back.
The one that's looking the other way.
Yeah,
I'd be sorry to ask.
I mean, that's a very legitimate question. And as just like the state, they established something and said that it's legal by establishing an ordinance. Is there the I don't know, the bandwidth for local law enforcement to be able to enforce those ordinances?
Well, they'd be the ones that would be doing the work. It'd be the county attorneys to make it enforceable.
So stay tuned. It's on my list to reach out to Sam and get an update on that. But we will have some information to share with that joint Board of Health on the 24th.
Thank you.
Suffice to say, I share your frustration. It's really a mess.
Any other questions? Cheryl, anything happening on the checkbook, financial, we should be aware of?
Still staying afloat. We're working on transitioning to merchant bank because we're running low on check blanks that our new supply should be in next week, so we'll start transitioning over.
Yeah, Donna mentioned that in the land use committee that you're down to 30 checks or so. Getting close and hopefully you can get it in
I don't
transit.
think more than 30, because when we counted, we could pick 38 today.
Well, it's 30 something. It might have been 39. So
Go off that. Anything else? Any closing public comment? Closing public comment. Okay, the motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second,
second.
discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Hey.
Hi.